Hello, welcome to RC Video Reviews. Today we're taking a look at the 64mm F-16 V2 from FMS. Before I get into the content, I need to let you know this video is sponsored by FMS, who sent this plane out for review. I'll have a link in the description if you'd like to pick one up for yourself. It is an affiliate link, so if you use it, the channel gets a little bit of a kickback that's paid by FMS. Doesn't cost you anything extra, so if you'd like to buy one for yourself, I'd appreciate it. The other thing I need to let you know is this is the third video in a 5-part series in celebration of Independence Day in the United States. As a result of that celebration, I've got a couple of coupon codes in the description of the video if you'd like to use those to buy some FMS airplanes or other products for yourself. And I have a live stream coming up where we'll give away an airplane. In order to win the plane, you'll need to be present on the live stream, so keep an eye on the channel for that one. Thanks again to FMS for sending the F-16 out for review. Let's get into it. Before I take it out of the packaging, I thought I'd give you a look at the box so you see what condition it'll be in when you get yours. A couple of key specifications on the F-16 V2. This one's got a 28.7-inch wingspan, which is 730 millimeters for the rest of you outside the United States. It has a flying weight of around 900 grams. It's powered by a 2840 3900 kV motor and a 40 amp ESC. It requires 5 9-gram servos and a 4-channel radio to run this one. It is a 64mm EDF, and it's powered by a 3-cell 2200, not a 4-cell, 3-cell 2200. They expect about 5 minutes of flight time for this one, and the assembly should take about 45 minutes. Let's get it out of the box and on the stand. We'll start out with a manual. It's a black and white paper affair, and English is the only language this time. It talks about the parts you should expect in the kit, how the different fuselage elements are installed, a little bit of information about assembling the wings and what kind of glue to use. And then as we get toward the back, we get a little information about the throws, the channels to use, and things like your CG, and a little bit of operating instructions on how to set up the plane. So a very typical manual for a plane like this. There's just not a whole lot of assembly, so a very basic manual just to get you started. There's a look at the leading edge of the starboard wing, and as you can see, straight as an arrow, no issues there. And one thing I have noticed about FMS is their paint quality seems to be a step above, because when you see two different colors, there's a light gray and a dark gray. Where they meet, they've got very clean lines and no overspray. So in addition to the fact they've got a good molding process, I think they've also got a very good painting process as well. Their EPO paint seems to me to be a step above. It does have an EPO hinge, so keep that in mind. Never a bad idea over time to cut those EPO hinges off and just hinge them properly with a mechanical hinge. Notice the control horn has a plate on the top with a screw holding the horn on. I like that. I always like it when they sandwich the control surface with a control horn and a screw. I always appreciate that. And then where the wing connects, there's some plastic mounting to keep everything in shape, and that's where the screws go in on the fuselage. On the bottom of the wing, we got the stars and bars. Also notice on the bottom where the armaments and drop tanks get installed, they are glue-in affairs. They don't slide in like some of the other models we've checked out recently. So if you want to use the armaments, you have to make a choice. You're gonna have to glue them in. No flaps on this one, and these small planes tend to not need them, and no navigation lights, just a plain wingtip out there on the end. Next up is the port wing, and same deal, we'll take a look at the leading edge. There we go, everything looks nice and straight there. I don't see any issues. Same with the paint line, nice and clean. Control horn is already installed, glue on armaments, and don't forget your control surfaces before you hook those servos up the first time to flex them a little bit and just kind of loosen them up. And here's a look at the horizontal stabilizer and elevator. I don't see any issues there. It looks nice and straight, and again, nice clean paint lines. I like that a lot. Basically the same construction as the wing, just a little bit smaller. EPO hinges on these too. And here's the starboard horizontal stabilizer and elevator. No issues there. Everything looks to be nice and straight. I don't see any problems there. And there's a look at the trailing edge. I don't see any issues there either. It looks very straight. There are also a couple little fins that go on the belly of the airframe. These are glued in, and I'll show you where they go when we look at the fuselage. Fixed landing gear on this model, no retracts, and they do that to keep the weight down on these small planes. And you can also hand toss them too. If you want to hand launch the plane, you can do that as well. So fixed landing gear on this one and a steerable nose wheel. Here's the bag of hardware, and if you follow the channel, you know that my rule is the bigger the bag of hardware, the more work you have to do. This is a pretty small bag, just a couple of screws in there and some control horns, so it shouldn't take too long to get this one put together. In terms of armaments, we've got a couple of drop tanks. Remember, these get glued on the bottom if you want to install them. There's no latching mechanism. Here are a couple of missiles that are going to go on the wings and a couple of missiles that go on the wingtips. I guess these are probably Sidewinder missiles, just my guess, but they go on the wingtips, and also remember these get glued on if you want to include them. One little wing spar that'll slide into the fuselage for the wings to hold on. It's very small diameter, not a big one at all. It's very lightweight, but it's also very stiff. So good wing spar. I can't really flex it with my hand. I think that'll be fine. Here's a look at the vertical stabilizer. No rotor on this one, so this is yank and bank plane. You're gonna roll this one over and pull that elevator to make it come around, and the vertical stabilizer is also glued in. Next up is the fuselage. We'll start out under the canopy first. This one lifts off from the front. When you pull that off, there's a magnet that holds that one in, and there's a tongue in the back. Personally, I prefer that to be reversed. I like the tongue up front and a magnet in the back, but that's the way they did this one, so we'll see how it goes. You can see the wires are laid out nicely and they're labeled, and they even put extensions on, although if you're going to use a stabilizer, it seems to me right here where all those extensions come in might be a really good spot for that stabilizer. So just throwing that out there. Here's the servo for the steerable nose wheel and the servo connection for the nose wheel. They're using an XT60 connector, which will be just fine on a 3S battery, and there's the battery compartment for your 3S 2200. As usual with FMS planes, all very tidy and ready for you to go to work as soon as you lift the canopy off the model. I like the detailed graphics on the side, although that says sabotage, and I'm not sure if that's supposed to be French or English. Is that an oversight? Man, this is an F-16, this is an American plane with stars and bars. That should probably be in English. I don't know. Maybe it's like that on the production. If you know, leave a comment and let me know. Anyway, push button to open door, pull ring out 6 feet to jettison canopy. So nice little markings. The panel lines look excellent. We don't see a lot of plastic insets like we did on the bigger Rafale, but everything looks nice and clean. The paint looks excellent, and I do like the panel lines. They add a nice level of detail. And then they have a tail cone on the back that's actually part of the EPO, and that is painted black. So it kind of gives it that authentic look. On the side, you can see a couple of plastic tabs where the wings will screw in, and here are the servos for the wings. No push rods connected. You'll have to install those when you put the wings on. Here's a look at the belly of the plane. Here are where those two fins go that I mentioned earlier. Here are the landing gear mounts, so the landing gear will set in there with a couple of plastic covers that go over top, and then you can see the servos for the elevator. 2 servos for the elevator, which I kind of like, because you can mix that if you want to get fancy, and then aileron servos are right here. There's a look at the head-on profile and the nose cone, which is magnetized and keyed. So when you're ready to install that, you just bring it close to the nose of the aircraft and let her rip. She just pops on there, good to go, ready to fly. Very sharp pitot tube out front too. You poke an eye out, be careful with that thing. I won't be able to get it completely set up because some parts require glue, but I can probably put the wings and the vertical stabilizer on to give you a look at what the plane looks like when it's finished. So the spar obviously goes in first, and that'll be followed by the wing, and you just slide that in place over the screw mounts, and then we'll do the same thing on the other side. Just slide the wing right there on the spar tube and latch it into the wing mounts. There we go. The vertical stabilizer will drop right on the top just like that. And to wrap up the mock-up, here's the horizontal stabilizer for the port side. As you can tell, this one requires some glue, so I can't install it, but I'll put it in place and give you a look so you see how the plane looks in a close to finished state. So that is pretty close to being done and how it will look when you're at the field. I gotta tell you, when I was a kid, I think the F-16 Thunderbird edition was one of the early airplanes that made a real impression on me and probably had a lot to do with my interest in aviation. So I was thrilled when FMS asked me to review the 64mm F-16. I can't wait to get this one put together and out of the field to fly, just to see how it does. Thanks again to FMS for sending this plane out for review. I'll remind you, if you'd like to pick one up for yourself, I've got affiliate links in the description. I'll get this plane put together and at the field flying just as soon as I can. If you like my video and you think my work has warranted a thumbs up, I'd appreciate it if you smash that thumbs up button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you know when new videos hit the channel. YouTube should recommend another video for you right about now. That's all I've got for today. Take it easy and go fly something.